Alright. So, I haven't done one of these in a while, and it's pretty much the only thing people are clicking on on my YouTube channel, so I figure I'd go ahead and do another one before Decidueye comes out. And I'm going to try to do this before I need to jump on stream. So, I have the tier list in front of me. The Pokemon are arranged in order of category. Otherwise, they're not in any particular order. So, for whatever reason, I have the tanks up top at this point. So we'll just go ahead and do this. I think Crustal's in a good place. I don't think he's necessarily overpowered. I don't think any of the tanks are. Crustal is in a very, very good position right now. I'll go ahead and do Greedent next. So Greedent was up here for a little while because he was just really good at a lot of things. Now I think he's probably more in line with Crustal for the most part. He's still pretty good. It's just he doesn't have the sustain that he got from the berries before. He still has quite a bit of sustain because he can still poop out berries all the time. The Belch build got nerfed a little bit, and the range on Bullet Seed is not great, so he's somewhat limited in what he can do comparatively, but I still think he's pretty good. He's not great as a solo tank, but he's okay. Crustal is a much better solo tank in my opinion. So Mamswine, just barely falls in the not great category. I mean, if Mamoswine's the only tank on your team, he'll probably get the job done. It's just that he's still really limited in what he can do. He hasn't gotten anything in terms of buffs or anything like that. Snorlax is okay. He's always been sort of your go-to kind of tank character, and he's still kind of there. It's just, I think, Crustal and Greedent are slightly better. Slowbro and Blastoise. Blastoise got hit with a little bit of a nerf, but I don't think that hurt him that bad. And I think I had pushed them all the way up here at one point. I still think that the two of them are best together instead of as a solo tank, but you can solo tank as both to a certain degree. But I think Crustal and Greedent are just slightly better. So if you're gonna do one tank character to focus on, probably be Crustal. Slowbro and Blastoise are good under certain conditions. Greedent's good under a lot of conditions. Snorlax is just fine regardless. Mamoswine could use some work, so I wouldn't recommend using Mamoswine right now. Supports are in a position where I don't think anybody is up here anymore, because it seems like nobody really cares too much about having a support, and when you have a support on your team, it doesn't make as much of a difference right now. I'm not entirely sure why that is. It's just more teams where I'm at right now are focusing heavily on damage and not necessarily on staying alive. So Eldegoss is still really good, and probably the best support for anybody who's starting out. Mr. Mime and Blissey are still pretty good, and Wigglytuff is still down here somewhere because, like, this is even colored differently because she's in such a weird place. She's supposed to be a support, and they never fixed that on this tier list, despite the fact that it even has Decidueye on here. Oddly enough. Alright. All-arounders. So, Garchomp. Well, here's the thing. So, I don't think Garchomp got much in terms of buffs or anything. It just seems like whatever problems he had, everybody's ignoring now. I don't know why that is, but he still has some problems that need to be worked on. The biggest one being the fact that he is such a late game all-arounder. It's kind of rough. Charizard hasn't seen very many changes. He's sort of an okay right now. The champ is actually pretty good at this point. Lucario, though, is still head and tails above everybody else. So, yeah, it's just, they nerf him and he just keeps coming back. So, if you're a Lucario player, you are basically, you don't have to switch to anything else. Assassins. Okay, so I have played some Gengar, and I don't think Gengar's that bad. I think people saying that he's complete garbage is overblown a little bit, because he does have a couple of builds that are actually pretty good. His poison build is still really good. It's just not what everybody's used to. I've used, I forgot what it was. It's like Sludge and Hex, I think. And that build's still pretty good under certain conditions. I don't play him in ranked or anything, though. And then apparently there's another Shadow Ball build with a couple of items that you can do that makes him decent, but he's kind of in that area where he could probably use a little tweaking, as he can't keep up with other assassins very easily. Speaking of which, so Absol, I think a lot of me and Absol was just me hyped that Absol's in the game because it's a dark type, and my thinking was that Absol should be a, you know, really good assassin, early game assassin, but the truth is, Absol has never really been really good. It's just been good. So, I mean, if you pick Absol as your assassin, you're going to get by just fine. But when you compare it to like Cinderace, toward the beginning of a game, Absol's probably going to kick its butt. Later in the game, once it's got its Unite move and everything, or not Cinderace, what is it called? Talonflame. There we go. Sorry. Talonflame. Once Talonflame gets up into the upper levels, it becomes a nightmare for squishier characters. So, Talonflame is actually really, really good. You just have to put up with the fact that it's not as strong until it gets higher. But the only assassin anybody would really care about most of the time is Zeraora, or however it is you pronounce it, Zorora. It's a lot more. It does more damage. Its abilities make it a lot more flexible and mobile. So even though it can't fly isn't really the best build for Talonflame in my mind. But Zera just kind of, if there's a Zeraora on your team, there's probably also one on your opponent's team. And most people run Zeraora over these others. Not all the time, but I mean, that if I were to recommend, you know, which one's the best assassin, Zeraora is clear winner here. So, Cramorant, I've even played Cramorant and I still don't know where he tiers at, so I'm just leaving him in unranked. I don't think he's bad. I just don't know if he's how good he is the thing. So I don't feel comfortable rating him. I have played Gardevoir a little bit since she got a buff, and actually, Yeah, I'd say she's okay at this point. I kind of see where they're going with her. I just wish they would, you know, push her more in the direction of... so her basic attacks have a normal type range for her character class. Her special abilities have a much longer range. And so she's really good at sniping people off at a distance. And I wish they would, you know, push that a little more. They boosted the damage on Psychic, which has been helpful, but I just don't think it does enough. And that's kind of why I was, even when I was seeing Gardevoir everywhere, I had a hard time judging what exactly it was doing, because all of its abilities can hit you from a larger range than everybody else. So it's really hard to judge how much she's actually doing in your backline. So, but as of right now, I'd say she's okay. She might need a few more buffs. Alolan Ninetales I have not played since she got nerfed, and it's probably for a good reason. They were supposed to be buffing Blizzard, and they ended up nerfing it. So I have basically stuck it down here in C until they buff her back up. Because she wasn't outstandingly strong to begin with. So the Blizzard nerf is just... why? You know? So she has another build, but I don't think that build's quite as good. So it is what it is. Cinderace is still... Cinderace and Greninja and Sylveon and Pikachu are all sort of tied right up here. So they're all pretty good. Most people play these three, Cinderace, Greninja, and Sylveon. So you'll see them most of the time. I think Pikachu keeps up with them pretty well, though. So if you're running Pikachu, you're not having a bad day. The only one that I think is sort of underwhelming are these two right now. But the number one best mage right now is Venusaur. Even though they nerfed his sustain a little bit from the Giga Drain Petal Dance build, the Petal Dance Giga Drain is still good. It's just not as good as it was. And they also buffed his Solar Beam. So you can either play Sniper with Solar Beam, or you can just play the Petal Dance Giga Drain build and be a threat in mid-range all the time, which is what people were doing before. Go figure. So I should be quick to point out, even though that these are the four top tier Pokemon right now, this is not indicative of, say, you know, these need to be nerfed right now because they're super overpowered. The distance between this and this is not nearly as significant as it once was. Venusaur is not going to be KOing an entire team by itself. Zeraora might be able to get a 2 or 3 KO run, but he's probably not going to kill your entire team in one go unless they don't know what they're doing. You know, so none of these are as much trouble as they once were. So the gap between S tier and C tier is a lot smaller than it has been in previous iterations. So I am part of Last Gamer Standing. If you have not voted, you can do so. There will be a link in the description below where you can go and vote, and you can donate to Starlight Children's Foundation. Every dollar that you donate counts as a vote for me if you go through that link below. So do that, and I'll catch you on the flip side.